Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from atheist ground zero in the United States of America, which is Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
The podcast.
I'm Frank.
I am Dan.
Coming up today, we're gonna be at the American Atheist Convention.
We
through
are.
The magic of editing.
We are. It starts today and
sometime later today.
And we're recording on a Thursday, and it starts, and then but the second half of our show, we don't even know what it'll be.
The second half of the show is happening sometime in the future.
It's in the future. We're going to time travel,
and we're going to be there.
So we'll bring you
So that's going to be exciting. Something from the convention.
A
little souvenir.
Yeah.
For all y'all.
We're not even sure what it is, but it'll be there.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, it'll be fascinating.
I certainly hope so.
That's
that kind of lead-in and promise, Dan.
That's my guarantee.
Yeah.
My word is my bond.
What have you committed us to, Dan?
Fascination. That's it. That's what I've committed us to. I stand by it.
All right.
Anywho,
okay.
So there's that. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Good.
I'm busy these days.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You're very busy.
I'm
busy too.
Yeah, we're both busy.
Running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
Yeah.
You know what we just did? The thing that I hate on podcasts.
Talking about their own lives.
When they start the podcast by doing like 5 minutes of like their daily life. I hate that when that happens.
Well, the dogs have been tough lately. The birds have night terrors, and the parakeet. There's one that has night terrors.
Oh, that is,
and he just gets one of the dogs all worked up every night. It's just awful.
That's such a shame. Can I tell you about my in-laws for a minute? All right, let's move into some stories.
Can we move to the blood moon, Dan?
Ooh, I saw the blood moon.
Yeah, I could have seen the blood moon. I was out and about. And just didn't know I needed to look up.
Nobody told you, hey, look up tonight.
Yeah.
I only knew about it like the day before somebody had posted a thing, and I was very excited because it's been a while since I've seen a full eclipse of the moon.
Yeah.
And so Andrea and I just went out on our patio and sat and lay on our hammock and watched the moon disappear.
Yeah.
Well, it was cool.
I have a early childhood memory of a blood moon that happened when I was 7 or 8, probably. So my mom woke me up in the middle of the night, took me into my brother's room, and which was south facing, and we looked out the window, and there was the blood moon, and I started screaming and crying, and I ran into the other room.
You know why? You knew it was the end of the world.
I knew that it was the blood moons set off bad events in the world.
Indeed.
And,
I don't think
there's a long history of this happening.
There's no way to argue against that. As a matter of fact, every blood moon means that the end of the world is right around the corner.
Well, actually, no.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no. It's when you have what do they call it when you have like 4 in a year? It's the crux of the whole story, Frank.
It's a tetra something, isn't it?
It's a tetra something. Tetris.
It's Tetris.
It's Tetris. When you have 4 of anything. Okay, anyways. So when you have 4 in a year, it's kind of a big deal. And because, that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
The last time
it's not
that
technically
happened
4 in a year. It's like 4 in like
a certain period of time.
18 months or something like that.
Okay. That's fine.
Yes, okay. I just know that we have like people who will write to us if we get it.
A tetrad.
A tetrad, right.
Tetrad.
Yeah, tetrad of moon eclipsings.
So anyways, the last time that we had one, when was the last time we had one?
Well, it was like in the
2000
90s.
or late 90s or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, 2004, like something.
2002, 2003, something like that. Okay. Anyways, so what some conservative evangelical types have noticed, right?
Yeah.
Is that John Hagee
Ooh.
You know, Texas megachurch pastor John Hagee.
Yeah.
Also author of Four Blood Moons. Something is about to change.
Ooh.
There are other books that come out. Also, Blood Moons: Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs, by Mark Blitz. There's also Blood Moons Rising, Biblical or Bible Prophecy, Israel, and the Four Blood Moons by Mark Hitchcock. He's a Oklahoma pastor.
All right.
And so anyways, I mean, these books, they're selling, like people are totally I mean, this is the new 2000, you know, when did the Mayan calendar in 2012?
Yeah.
This is the new 2012. This is a new Mayan calendar, people.
You know,
We've run out of Mayan calendar's gone. Well, we need something else.
we need a new
The
apocalypse
millennium,
sign.
Y2K happened.
Right.
You know, like, so anyways.
I gotta think, you know, if this were actually an occurrence that had never happened before, or if it was an occurrence that only happened once every, 700 years.
But it's the timing, right? So in 1492, there was...
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
That's true. And there was also a tetrad.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And that's the same year that Jews were expelled from Spain.
Oh.
Fortunately, Christopher Columbus found them a new home.
Oh, here.
Okay.
Where they are in control of the media.
There was a big thing that... there was a big sort of turmoil and upheaval in the Jewish community. Okay. In 1948... Bless you.
Thank you.
There was a tetrad. Okay.
No.
That is 1948. The modern state of Israel was created in 1948.
Oh.
Okay. And
this is getting exciting.
in 1967, tetrad.
Yeah.
Okay. Israel. That's the 6-Day War, right? That's when they recaptured Jerusalem. Right. So like big things happen. Okay.
Not Christian things, Jewy things.
Jewy things happen.
Yeah.
Which but evangelical Christians love to watch these big Jewy things
Right.
because they are waiting for the big one. Yeah. There's a big Jewy thing that has to happen.
At which point the Christians take over.
Oh yeah. They're waiting for that. Okay?
Yeah.
They're waiting. They're tired of waiting in the back seat of world religions.
Right, because
Christianity has just been shit upon until now.
It's so hard to be a Christian. What with them controlling like a quarter of the world's population and the Jews controlling like 0.2% of the world's population or something.
Now get this.
Okay.
According to NASA eclipse expert Fred Espenak.
Okay.
There was from 1600
Yeah.
to 1900, there were no tetrads. According to him.
Okay.
So, this is really important because apparently nothing bad happened to Jews for those 300 years. I don't even know if that's a real fact. It's in this article that I'm reading, but whatever. Just for the sake of for right now. Anyways, but in general, NASA does not consider tetrads to be particularly rare.
No.
Because there will be 8 sets of tetrads before the year 2100. So this is very few lives get led without experiencing multiple tetrads.
Yeah.
And so anyways, where else do I want to go with this?
So here's what's so stupid about the whole concept. Let me just get this out. You're so excited.
Okay,
I know.
okay, yeah.
But the thing that's so stupid about the concept of like there were no tetrads between X and Y is that we mathematically know how to figure out when these things happen.
Oh yeah.
It's that you could just make a calendar of them.
Sure.
It doesn't, like, we know when they're going to happen.
But see, here's what's important.
Okay.
It's not even so much that they happen.
Okay.
It's when they line. Did I say the whole thing about lining up with Jewish holidays?
Oh, that's right, because it's like Passover.
Yes. Okay. So this one coincided with Passover,
Right.
right? And if you look at the when the remaining 3 lunar eclipses are going to happen in
the
this tetrad,
Yeah.
they all line up with Jewish holidays. Now, but here's what I have to say about Jewish holidays.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you could do anything without lining up with a Jewish holiday.
Right.
Because I pulled up a list. Because I was like, well, how many Jewish holidays are there?
Right. You could check your hemorrhoid flare-ups against Jewish holidays, and it would probably line up pretty good.
Yeah, probably. But there is stuff I've never even heard of. Of course, I'm not a Jewish scholar.
No.
Or a scholar of Hebrew studies. But Tu B'Shvat is in January this year. There's Purim. There's Passover. There's second Passover.
What?
I didn't know there was a second Passover.
Yeah,
There's
didn't know.
Lag Biomer.
Well, Lag BaOmer, that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. There's Shavuot.
Okay.
The 3 weeks. They get 3 weeks. The 15th of Av, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shemini Atzeret, and Simchat Torah, and Hanukkah on just this list.
Wow.
So do anything 4 times this year and not have it line up with a Jewish holiday.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when one of them is 3 weeks long and another one's 8 days long.
Right. That's true.
You know?
Yeah, you're cheating.
Yeah.
And
The whole year's a holiday.
wait,
for these
when
people.
is Passover specifically?
Passover started on
How long? Passover is one of those
Monday.
long ones?
I think it's 7 days or something like that. I was talking to a Jew on Monday,
Oh, good for you.
and she said,
What a wonderful thing to have done.
or maybe it was on Passover.
Ah.
It might have been on Tuesday that we started talking about it.
Huh.
But anyways,
There you go.
and she said it goes until like she thinks Wednesday. But
I
she
see.
wasn't even too sure.
Yeah, well. When the tetrad happens on Easter, then we'll know.
Well, right, but this year is Armageddon.
Oh, good.
The war, it is going to happen. People are dying in the streets of Israel.
Dogs
Blood
and
is gonna
cats
flow.
living together. Mass hysteria.
Blood and people, you don't want to know what happens in Salt Lake City during Armageddon.
No.
Brigham Young spelled it all out. It's horrible.
Comic-Con descends. The atheists come.
Clearly, it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world.
Oh, that Comic-Con.
I know. I kind of want to go. They got some big names to
They
this
got
one.
some big names.
Salt Lake Comic-Con's getting huge, people.
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's coinciding with the American Atheist, which I don't know that the American Atheist knew that was going to happen.
Well, no, but American Atheist always does Easter weekend. That's their thing.
Right.
That's their gimmick.
Right.
But yeah, that is a
But
shame.
it does seem that the two are kind of competing
Right.
for the same audience.
We should. Never mind. I just had a good idea, but I'm not going to tell the people on the
Don't
air
tell.
just in case we do it.
In case we don't do it.
Right. Well, there's that too, which is more likely.
More likely that we won't do one of our great ideas.
Right. Indeed. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to take us away from the scary moons and go to Pope Francis. He's for Holy Week. You'll recall that last year, just sort of right after he ascended to popeness,
Right.
he went for Holy Week to wash the feet of some
kids in a lockdown facility.
right,
Yeah.
juvenile detention center.
Yeah.
And he and this caused a great stir in
Of admiration, right? People were like really.
some admiration.
Really?
Here's the dealio.
It was not universal?
No, it wasn't. Because so here's the thing. Every year this has become a tradition that the Pope goes and washes the feet of people
Yeah.
during Holy Week.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Up until now, it's been the feet generally of like other Catholics, and it's been the feet of often like
the well-to-do,
or
the politically connected.
or seminarians,
okay.
or bishops or whatever.
What about just people with dirty feet? Can't he just like...
He's just find dirty-footed people.
I mean, that seems like he's at least like providing a real service.
Right,
at that
exactly.
point.
Because if he washed my feet, I'd be like, dude, those things are clean.
Yeah, I took a bath yesterday and I washed them.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go to India, you're going to see some dirty ass feet.
That's where he should go.
He should go to India.
They have a surplus. He's willing.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like a perfect combo right there.
Come to Pope a foot wash. It's your best foot wash you're ever going to have. I always want to make him Italian because they're in Italy.
He's not Italian.
He's not Italian. It makes me happy.
It's
I don't
not
care.
that far off.
No, that's true. I don't do an Argentine accent though, so I'm really not. I'm not going to do a Francis thing anyway. I do like the idea of him setting up like a booth, a foot wash booth.
Yeah.
It's what I'm good at. You come and you do the foot wash. I will do it for free, and then I kiss. It's a very nice.
I kiss once it's clean.
Yes, and not before clean.
Ooh, no.
Yeah, even then it's kind of gross, but no.
Depends
so
on the foot.
it does. So yes, it's obviously the foot washing thing. It's a recreation of Jesus's action at the Last Supper when he washed the feet of all of his disciples and blah blah blah. So there are some other guys who do it. I'm reading an article on RNS about this. And so this is contrasting Bishop Robert Morlino of Madison, Wisconsin, who will wash the feet of 12 men, all seminarians. So like, disciples sort of thing. An interesting sort of parallel to the Jesus story.
Right. But then he's setting himself up as Jesus.
I mean, he's a bishop. That's kind of what they do.
That's a little full of themselves, a little presumptuous. I'm just going to say.
That's also what they do. Anyway.
Is be full of themselves.
Be full of themselves. Anyway, Francis this year has elected to observe the Holy Thursday rite. But he's not going to a cathedral like Bishop Morlino. He's going to a center for people with disabilities. And he's going to wash the feet of a number of residents, all lay people, and perhaps some of them women, and even non-Christians or non-believers.
The horror.
Well, and so
that's you know what? This is one of the things I'm going to put on the I like Pope Francis list.
Okay.
There's the I don't like Pope Francis list.
Right.
But there's the I like Pope Francis. This guy, I think he's got this kind of shit figured out. The symbolism of this is so powerful.
Right. So here's the deal. People are aghast. Some people, like really conservative Catholics, are actually genuinely aghast that the Pope would do non-Catholics wash their feet.
Right.
And women. Because there's a tradition of it being men only, and they're all Catholics. And I think you're absolutely right. I'm with you on this. I think he's getting it right. He's sort of showing the best part of what Jesus' message is.
Right.
And the best parts of Jesus' message, I dig.
Sure.
I'm into it.
No problem.
Love the people that most need to be loved.
Yeah.
And like help the people that most need help. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to go do that. Meanwhile, bloggers, conservative bloggers are just up in arms. The truth is, he's kind of breaking Catholic law to do it.
Is he?
Kind of.
How does that... Wait.
There's so there are rules in place. Now, up until... where was it? Up until 1955, foot washing was not sexist. It was fine to do it for men or women, except that women weren't allowed up to the holiest part of a cathedral.
They weren't?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So they couldn't really be part of it if it was taking place up there. And then Pope Pius the 12th in the 50s.
My favorite Pius.
He's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
One of the good Piuses. He simplified the Holy Week rites and sort of locked some stuff down.
Well,
canonizing certain rules and stuff. And then
if a pope... Well, okay, continue.
Well, you'd think if a pope decides
That's
he's
what I was
doing
going to
it,
say. Yeah.
It's okay.
For the pope to... If it's a papal decree, if it's a papal decree, doesn't it just take another pope
to just shit on it?
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
If you're below pope level, right?
then what the fuck
If
do you have to
not
say about it?
achieved Pope level benefits,
Right, exactly.
right?
It's like a step above diamond. There's the silver level, there's gold, there's platinum, and then there's diamond,
right?
but then there's Pope.
Well, usually there's like a double diamond, and then there's Pope, and now there's double Pope.
A double Pope.
We actually have double Pope status.
Double Pope status
at the moment.
There's single Pope that is like abdicated your popedom Pope status.
Yeah.
And then there's double Pope
He's
status.
double Pope.
He's double Pope. How do you say anything about double Pope?
He's double Pope status. Love
No,
it.
he
knows about the floor that the casino has never even mentioned.
Right.
He knows about the suite over in the corner.
Right. Yeah. He knows about the islands that only really important people get invited to.
Yeah.
All of that sort of thing. Anyway, so there is controversy. I just think it's so funny. Like the one time that a pope actually like says, "Hey, maybe it's more important that this not be about tradition and that it actually be about the message." And everybody's like, "But the tradition."
Yeah.
What about the tradition?
There's a lot. Okay, I don't want to get all mired down in this, but there is something to be said about ritual and tradition. And of course, you can't always, just hold. I mean, ritual gets reformed through time and whatnot, but like, there's a lot of people who really respond to it.
Yeah.
And there are non-believers who respond to ritual.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, I get like in one way, I'm like, I get the whole don't mess with our thing because we like it, but at the same time, he is the Pope, and that's part of your thing, right? Like,
yeah,
and all he's doing is washing the feet of some women and some non-Catholics,
right?
So, anyways,
yeah. It's there was a Reverend John Zulsdorf,
where's he from?
I don't know, but he's a blogger.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote that the church's law says that only men may be the recipients of this foot washing. So he's really on board with this Morlino guy who has set down guidelines that say that his priests must wash the feet of 12 men or don't wash at all. If you want to do the foot washing, you get it right, bitches.
Or better not to do it.
Better not to do it than to wash a woman's feet.
Better that there be 12 extra stinky feet in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I bet these people pre-wash their feet.
Oh, yeah. They don't come with nasty feet.
They're not like pulling off their black socks and picking out little bits of black lint.
No. I wonder if some of them like purposefully walk around in like the garden for a while barefoot just to fuck with them.
Well, just a little bit of dirt isn't that big of a deal.
No.
But like nasty feet, that's a different thing.
Yeah, well.
I bet, does the Pope have like is there like a pre-team that shows up that's like.
It's like selecting.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, your foot, that's photogenic. That's okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going to stick with the Vatican.
Okay.
This is actually an awesome story. About the Vatican, having to do with their collection in the Vatican Apostolic Library.
Oh, I'll bet that's extensive.
It's 1,600 years old.
Yeah, as
far as libraries go, that's pretty good. And they've got a collection of precious manuscripts that is. No, wait, it's not 16. They have 1,600-year-old manuscripts.
Okay.
The library is 600 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, that's totally not impressive anymore.
Yeah. Sorry, I almost got that completely wrong. It houses.
What's really weird is that it started with just a grouping of Garfield cartoon books. Was all it had. Now it's
some Family Circus.
Now it's much better.
Little Iggy. There's Ziggy.
Ziggy. Yeah, sure, some Ziggy.
And then they built out from there?
They built on from there.
Oh, okay. Cool. Now they have more than 82,000 manuscripts. All right. Some dating back to the 2nd century. My facts are just completely wrong. But anyways, they are set. Well, up to this point, it's taken a lot to gain access to this library.
Yeah.
It's you just don't fill out a little card and
No,
good to go.
you-
2 weeks, check out whatever you want.
You got to
know.
have Dan Brown level, like, apocalyptic reasons to get into this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so so it's been pretty hard. So what they're doing, and this is the amazing part, is they have brought together a team of IT folk and of archivists, and they are digitizing the archives, and they are going to make them all available online.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's actually great.
It's remarkable.
That's
And I mean,
really cool.
and these are all like, stuff like that.
Oh, like beautiful illuminated texts.
Yeah.
That have, the things that have like gorgeous paintings.
One monk spent his entire life
Right.
doing one of these.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just crazy stuff. And so this is when did they say it's coming out? I can't remember when they said it's coming out. But anyways, it's absolutely remarkable. And so
Are they going to be redacted? I think they're going to redact some of them.
I don't think so. But the project, I mean, it's not cheap. This is going to cost them a lot of money to do.
Yeah, it is.
It's a 4-year project. The cost of the first year is $25 million.
Wow.
And they are currently seeking sponsors to
Okay.
recoup the money. So it could be, the Vatican collection brought to you by Toyota.
Right. Right.
I mean, who knows how exactly they're going to do that. I'm sure it'll be tasteful.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it's not going to be Toyota.
No?
I'm guessing, if it's going to be a car company, at least make it Italian. Fiat. Brought to you by Fiat.
Or European.
Yeah,
It could just
sure.
be European.
Sure. You're probably not going to get, like, BMW, though.
No.
It'd be
Maybe not.
Porsche, maybe.
Maybe. Who
Sure.
knows? Yeah.
Sure, the French.
The French. Oh, a little Renault.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh. Peugeot.
Peugeot.
Yeah, I just thought that was fascinating news, and I wanted to share it.
Yeah,
There's
that's
not really anything of consequence
No,
about it, but it's great. I think it's a wonderful
What will be
development.
interesting is that scholarship will now have a whole new, like, shit ton of stuff to look into.
Well, apparently this is a trend in sort of the great European libraries. They are
Yeah.
not the first to do this. Where else has been doing this? Like there's a big one in France and a couple in the UK.
Well, the U.S. Library of Congress is doing it.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, big stuff. That's good. Information to the people.
Absolutely.
Like it. I like it. I've got 2 fufurf stories that I'm just going to sort of spout out really quickly because they're both fufurf, and I just thought, we'll just get it out there.
Do it.
So the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which we like to call the fufurf, is they filed a lawsuit. So we've been hearing a lot about lawsuits against towns that are that open their meetings with prayer, etc.
Yeah.
And there was the one back east, well, in the south. It was in like South Carolina, right, where they filed a lawsuit. It went to this. Did it go to the Supreme Court? There was a recent ruling that said, hey, you have to either have non-Christian, like you have to open it up to everybody or not have it, and they've been defying it, and it's just been this big battle and whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we reported on it. Anyway, Pismo Beach, California, they've been opening their city council meetings with a chaplain giving a prayer every meeting.
Okay.
So the FUFRF stepped in along with a local person who sued, and they settled. And they just decided we're not going to have prayers anymore, and they dissolved the chaplainship.
And that was the settlement.
That was it.
Fantastic.
They just did it. So win
Smart.
for separation of church and state.
Yay!
It was just and the city agreed to pay
legal fees.
Attorney fees, nominal damages, and attorney fees.
Fantastic.
So that was about $47,000.
A bargain.
that they paid.
A bargain for the city.
Yeah, they got out cheap and easy.
Yeah.
Just by obeying the constitutional law.
Fantastic. They could have avoided
Right.
entirely. They'd probably just responded to a letter.
It does seem like that would
came
be
from some lawyers
the easy way
initially.
But you
My guess
you
is-
can't just do that easily, because then you get letters from your constituents going. Argle,
Yeah,
bargle.
but something that's asking you to, I don't know,
Follow the Constitution.
Yeah, that seems like something you just do.
Right.
So, all right, well, cool.
Meanwhile, in their home state of Wisconsin, which is where the FFRF is headquartered, there are Christians who put up signs in the Capitol about whatever holiday. So there are Easter signs up there now.
Oh, okay.
So the FFRF filed for a permit and received a permit to put up a sign. So they put up a sign, and it says, "Nobody died for our quote-unquote sins. Jesus Christ is a myth."
Oh, okay.
I don't love that sign.
I don't love the sign either.
I think it's dumb. But it was vandalized. It was busted up.
Yeah.
Predictably so, I imagine.
Yeah. Why not promote something rather than dragging something else down?
Right.
That's like we've talked about this. This is the whole thing with like putting up atheist billboards.
Right.
Say what you're about. Don't say what. Don't
say what you're against.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not even what they're really about.
No, I know.
But I'm getting to what they are about.
Okay.
So here's the interesting thing. Their sign got busted up a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a little sort of poster board sized sign.
Okay.
On an easel. But then so then they put up a little like standard sheet of paper with the following written on it. "Why is this sign so mutilated? Presumably somebody who disagreed with our message tried to destroy our sign. Apparently this person believes the Capitol is a public forum for Christianity only. If you don't think religious messages should be displayed on government property, join the club. We don't think they should be either. But as long as religious groups use the Capitol to proselytize, FFRF has a right to respond to their message. Religion is divisive. It belongs in churches, not the state capitol. Keep religion out of the government."
Yes.
That's your message.
That's what it should have said from the beginning.
You found your message. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, granted, it wouldn't have made as much news, so they're trying to get coverage and whatever. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to criticize their methodology. I think first of all, the sign looks dumb.
Is it like handmade?
No, I mean it's just again our problem with ugly design. There's nothing particularly wrong with it.
What is that, like Cooper Standard or something?
Yeah, it's got this sort of cutesy font.
It's a puffy.
Yeah, it's a puffy font.
Puffy font.
And it's purple text on a yellow background.
It's awful.
I don't know what you're doing, people.
It's terrible.
Anyway, it's just
Get some design sense.
It's a good way to piss people off, but not a good way to get your message across.
Right.
In my mind.
Well, and it's a great way to say we have no taste and we're tacky.
Right. We're tacky and we want you to be angry at us. So,
that's not what you want to say.
No, it seems like that's not really the message you want to get out.
Yeah.
But maybe it is. Maybe their whole message is we're tacky and we want you to be mad at us. That should be their tagline. And
I love it, Dan.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well. All right, let's see what I have. My next story comes back home. Actually, not. This whole thing's actually kind of going down in Houston, where a company by the name of Spring is developing a dating website for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh.
And they have...
to compete with LDSsingles.com?
Yeah, apparently people really don't like that thing too much.
Oh.
It's kind of gross.
Oh.
According to LDS single people, LDSsingles.com is gross. Anyways, they have the name of the site is Mormon Watch, and they are using the URL dateamormon.com. And their website features features a very lovely picture of the Salt Lake City temple.
Sure.
And it has a quote that says from the Book of Mormon, "Seek and ye shall find." 3 Nephi 14:7.
Yeah.
And they have. It's not fully launched. They just. It's sort of a placeholder site, and has a comment section where you're able to go on and be like, "Ooh, this would be nice. Have you thought about doing this?" And blah blah blah. Well, the corporation known as the Intellectual Reserve Incorporated, which is owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh,
The Mormons.
the Mormons.
They're the ones who that little corporation owns all the copyrights for the LDS Church.
Sure.
And they have apparently they're trying to have this site taken down due to copyright infringement. They are claiming that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns the word Mormon, and that they own all images of the Salt Lake City temple.
Including the ones that I took?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. They are, the city of Paris. This is not unprecedented for an entity to own all pictures of something.
No.
Technically, the city of Paris owns all pictures of the Eiffel Tower. Okay, so it's weird. Clearly in France. Yes,
maybe.
This is true. But the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is trying to do this as well, and they are not playing nice. Apparently, they are going They're not just dealing with the company. They've been doing roundabout efforts with the hosting company for the website.
Oh wow!
Demanding that the service provider take the site down, these are good Mormon kids putting this site together.
Right, of course they are.
Who love the church.
Nobody else cares about it.
Exactly. And so they are shocked at the church's aggressive legal stance. And one of the head of the project, Jonathan Eller, says, "I love the church. I'm hoping we can come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. I don't want to do anything to harm the church."
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know what this smells like to me? It may not be this, but it smells like one of the general authorities is like grandpa to the guy that owns LDSsingles.com.
Yeah. Well, LDS. That's
Right.
like something that they've been throwing. They, for years, didn't want to be called Mormons. They were like, we are LDS. They don't own LDS? How are they letting LDS Singles do their thing?
Right.
How did they let the Book of Mormon, the musical, happen on Broadway?
Right.
Right?
I mean, satire has
paid
a special place.
It does. But why weren't they sending cease and desist and trying their dang hardest to do that?
I'm guessing they did send at least one or maybe they just knew they had no case and that there were millions of dollars behind it, and so they didn't want to get into a battle. They know that these kids don't have any money. They can't fight them.
Well, I don't know what this company Spring is. I didn't look into it, so I don't know how much money is behind them or not. But yeah.
Okay, well, I just pulled up the site, and I'm looking at the comments section.
Lovely.
And the top comment is delightful. I'm just going to read it to you. Daphne Jorgensen writes, "Do you know what would be a good feature? If there was some way to red flag someone's profile to warn others. Things like just looking for booty call or still married or stuff like that. I've never been blatantly propositioned so much as on LDS single site. And it really, really, really makes me mad and disappointed and grossed out. It would be good if we could warn other members of our sex from people and save them the grief. Like maybe a feedback option after you've met someone or something."
Yeah. And then
That's so totally Mormon right there.
Yeah.
I love it.
And one of the responders to that is actually from the company, I believe, because it's like, "I'm so happy to hear you say that. So one of my most exciting features is what we are calling reputation." Consider it something like ratings on Amazon or eBay. We are building creative ways to prevent people with an axe to grind, but we are definitely excited about it being able to see and report other members' creepy factor. The creepy factor.
You know what? Here's what we need. Here's where the market has a hole that you and I could fill if we wanted to.
Oh,
creepydating.com. You show up there.
it's pretty much.
You go ahead and just be your creepy damn self, and we welcome it. Everyone that's there knows that it's creeps.
It already exists.
Go get your creep on. Hopefully we can draw them away from the other sites a little bit.
I think it's Craigslist.
Craigslist is creepydating.com.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's hilarious. That's crazy.
But what boggles the mind is that now they're all about the word Mormon. To the point that they're trying to trademark it, which how could they possibly? There's other groups that think of themselves as Mormons.
Yeah, they need to step into the fray.
They should. They need to. They have a responsibility.
Yeah,
Except they don't have anywhere near the amount of money as the people downtown do.
No, they don't. But yeah, I mean, if the FLDS Church and the Church of Christ and all of the LDS offshoots suddenly said, "Oh, by the way, you don't own this.
Yeah,
we have just as much right to this as you do."
Yeah,
I think that'd be a compelling case.
The people, Church of Christ Temple or not?
Temple Lot?
Not they have probably better claim to anything Mormon. The people, the community of Christ they've got a better claim.
They've got a solid claim there
than anyone, and so it's like.
Yeah,
they're more legitimate as far as the Mormon movement.
The thing is, none of them wants the word Mormon. None of them. They know what that word's associated with, and they're happy to let it stay with the Brighamites. Anyway, there you go. I'm gonna. Speaking of Mormons, we might hear a little bit less about them in the world.
No,
because the Salt Lake Tribune. Our only newspaper who, at least for the time being, in Utah, is not owned by the LDS Church. That's our only major paper.
The only Salt Lake City paper.
Salt Lake City paper. That's what I should be saying. The only so there are two major papers in Salt Lake City. One of them is the Salt Lake Tribune. The other one is the Deseret News. Deseret News is owned by the church explicitly.
Right.
So the Salt Lake Tribune's sort of been the counterbalance a little bit.
Yeah,
they're still
historically careful. It was the counterbalance.
Right.
Now they're corporate owned and blah.
And they try not to ruffle too many feathers, but they still anyway, but they just as is happening across the country, newspapers are desperately trying to cut down their costs and blah, 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 because they're failing. So the Salt Lake Tribune, among other things, one of their cost-cutting measures is that they're dropping their faith section.
Which is remarkable to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually been an interesting section. They've brought a lot of interesting stuff to light in it.
Right.
Usually it's about Mormonism, not always. But they have a lot about the Mormon Church, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you read the actual printed newspaper, the Saturday edition is where the faith section shows up, and it's of course they have Mormon news, but they always have like Catholic news and Jewish news and featuring the local communities, right?
Right.
Whatever the holiday is, they'll have photos from that, and
right.
They have voices chiming in from the various faith traditions. And so it's like, there is good actual journalistic reporting on the Mormon Church that happens there. But the faith section of any newspaper is always pretty touchy-feely.
Yeah, that's true.
It's meant to inspire the reader on Saturdays.
Now, one of our favorite reporters from the faith section, Peggy Fletcher Stack, who does some very good reporting. Mm-hmm. She retains her job, so she'll just be in the news section now instead of
But covering sort of the religion beat
right
in the news section.
And she's,
okay.
she's won national awards and stuff. She's a good one.
Right. Okay.
There you go, though. I mean, I just think it's interesting. Like, I guess a faith section doesn't do much for me. So
no, it doesn't.
I'm pretty glad that, I mean, that seems like
fine that it's going
very,
away.
very appropriate cut.
But it does, well, what it says to me more than anything is it just makes me sad because it's actually, not because it's the faith section, but because it's yet another thing in the newspaper that is dying.
Yeah.
And I'm such a fan of good local journalism that the thought of this nation losing its local newspapers, which is what is happening, is terrifying.
Indeed. Well, you and I have had long discussions about this about this concept.
Indeed.
Journalism, it's not great right now in the U.S. And we're not doing anything to help it. You and I are not journalists, so there you go. Anywho, I don't know. Just wanted to. I mean, maybe it's a sign of the times that faith. I mean, it just points out, like, of the things that you can lose in a newspaper.
Yeah,
faith's the easy one to go.
Yeah. Well, but what they can always just point to, they can point to the Deseret News and just be like, this is being covered ad nauseum at our competition,
right?
And we just have a little section, so just let the Deseret News just do it. I mean, from just a.
Not that the Deseret News is actually like ever going to take the church to task or anything.
No, but you still have somebody on the religion beat.
Sure.
You just don't have a dedicated section anymore.
Right.
That's different.
Yep. And I think that's appropriate. That's the way it should be. Anyway, if you guys agree or disagree with any of these points, you may feel free to write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Or you can just go to the Facebook page, throw some stuff up there and read what Mackenzie posts and have some fun interactions with each other in and among yourselves.
Woohoo!
So, what are we we got something to listen to?
Yeah, we do. We're going to take a quick break. This is Glenn Beck.
Oh, goody.
And, he's a funny one because the thing that I always forget about him is how much he feels like he talks directly to God. And so here's him talking about some of that.
My longest running unspoken prophecy, if you will, prompting is being fulfilled right now. And it is one that I haven't spoken, and I still am not going to, because it is the one most personally frightening to me. It's begun. And I even argued with him a week ago, saying, not possible. Won't happen, not possible. And it's happening. And I know it. It's going to get ugly. But now is the time. The Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, time is here. It's here. It's happening.
Oh, it's so mysterious.
Oh, my goodness, but it's
First
happening.
Of all, can I ask you a question? Am I crazy, or did the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King thing happen in the 60s? Didn't that already happen? I thought we already had that.
Well, apparently, according to Glenn Beck, it's happening.
Oh man, and it's such a shame too because both of those guys are dead
now.
So how are we going to do it without those guys?
Well, maybe he means Is
he saying that like
I don't think it's
black oppression is returning?
I don't. I don't think it's what they stood for, anything like that, or what they were fighting for.
No,
that he's talking about there.
No, I don't think so.
It's he is. We've known it, but he is batshit crazy.
Well, yeah.
He is batshit crazy.
But what's amazing is how well this will play with his audience. What's amazing is how much, like, he said literally nothing in that quote.
But he's the mad prophet of the airwaves.
He just said, I'm not going to tell you what's coming, but it's coming. And you should be and because of the tone of my voice,
Right.
you should be horrified.
And I've been talking to him.
And
he points up.
He points
You don't
up?
see it because, he goes, I've been talking to him. And arguing with him.
I've been arguing with him. And he's like, dude, I'm totally doing this.
Wrestling with him.
Oh, my God. The delusions of grandeur are awesome. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. He is a prophet.
He just said it.
He is a prophet.
Yeah.
Prophet Glenn Beck.
Well, what's great is that Mormonism has a special, is particularly primed for this. He's a Mormon. He's a converted Mormon.
Yeah, he didn't grow up in the church.
And Mormonism sort of gives you this little out where Mormonism says you can have personal revelations from God. And you can,
Yeah, but
Mormonism talks about that.
In
a way
what is the church going to do with him? Because he's so high profile now. But he's definitely speaking out in ways that I'm sure the guys downtown are concerned about.
It would not surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me if he got into a row with the church and left and started his own thing.
Oh, I could see him starting his own church.
I could totally see him starting his own church.
He's got the followers. The thing is, he needs
Beckites. All the people that are pissed off at the LDS church because they're being so tolerant.
But the problem is that he's got followers who aren't Mormon.
Right, I know.
And so he's got to figure out the right time, the right moment. Can he get enough of him being a prophet,
right,
and him being a religious leader into the thing that they're all following for, but casually for a while,
right?
Can he then convert that into a religious movement?
Well,
that's that's on his mind.
That's the brilliance of this clip. The brilliance of this clip is that he won't say what it is, so that as soon as whatever thing happens in the news, that he can glom onto.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
You all heard me predict it. You all heard me say that it was coming.
That I was talking about this,
and this is what it was.
And he always talks so slow,
and he always sounds like he's on the verge of crying.
Well, that's very Mormon of him.
It is very.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something, and I'm very upset about it. And
yeah.
Anyway, let's get to some emails.
He's
stuff.
A keeper.
Oh yeah,
I have a feeling that when Pat Robertson dies,
he's our guy.
He might have to. I think Glenn Beck might have matured into something we can go back to.
Oh, I love
regularly.
I do love that guy. Not unlike Pat Robertson. I would love to spend some hours on a porch with that guy. I wouldn't even say a word. I would just listen. And when he stopped talking, I would ask him a question to get him rolling again.
Here's the deal. I guarantee you, he's got excellent lemonade at his house.
Oh yeah,
and his wife probably makes really good scones.
Sure,
that's what.
I'm guessing some good stuff comes out of that kitchen.
Yeah, I bet his wife enjoy an afternoon. At the Beck's house.
This is what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
This is gold.
Maybe his wife doesn't bake it, but they definitely get good stuff in.
They get good stuff. Yeah,
they know the right bakery.
They've got a kitchen staff. They've got they got a cook.
They have a pastry chef on staff.
They've got Lupe in the back making up some really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm gonna get to some emails.
All right.
Korahor, he's written in a couple times. He says, please, please, please let gay God be the impression you do whenever you need to speak about God, speak as God anytime ever again in the podcast. He says, Dan's gruff, authoritative God voice is good, but kind of conventional. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Gay God's pretty good, but he's only useful for some things.
Well, he's really useful when we need new planets.
Right. I am so going to create some stuff right now. Oh, me. Anyway.
OMM.
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 Or Oh, your God. Oh, your God. Who's me? It's me. I'm your God.
Oh.
Pharrell's. Anyway, AJ wrote in. He said, I have something I want you... I assume that's a he. AJ wrote in. I have something I want you guys to comment on. I have a friend who's an ex-Mormon, now one of the, I'd consider myself more of an atheist than anything, atheists. We were talking about religion, and she brought up her mom, who's still a Mormon. My friend said that her mom had a Mormon wedding, but that before the wedding, she and her husband would, brace yourself, have old ladies rub oil all over them, cover their delicates with leaves, and have them act out Adam and Eve. She said that they would do this with all the other couples being married that day. Please let me know if there's any truth to this. I need to get the image out of my mind.
Where was this supposed to take place?
I guess in the temple. This is conflating a whole bunch of. This is conflating and changing.
Yeah.
Like morphing a bunch of actual things into something that sounds really, really.
Now, granted, neither of us were married in the Mormon temple.
No, but we know what goes on.
So, but
my wife was.
Yeah, but maybe it's just too shameful to tell this story.
To tell this story.
No, it clearly is not something that happens. You can get that image out of your head.
The oil thing, there is what's called a washing and anointing that happens when you're first, quote, endowed in the temple. Yeah. And that's an old lady for women, an old man for men, does like touch you in some special places.
But it does not have to be an old.
Right, it doesn't have to be old.
It's a person who works it's a man of whatever age.
Right, of your gender.
Of your gender.
Someone of your gender.
Right. And so man for the men and a woman for the ladies, and yes, but there's anointings, there's washings and anointings that happen. You're not clothed, but you are covered.
You're naked underneath a poncho.
Yes,
essentially,
and there is some oil involved.
And they dab it like on your forehead, and they get your thigh.
They hit your thigh. They get across the top of your chest, right? Like, and anyways, it is invasive, and it is definitely something that people do not like. That is completely that moment is for your endowment. That is before your endowment,
right? It's
leading up to your endowment. Then, totally separate, there is the endowment session where there is the story of Adam and Eve.
Right.
That is a part of the endowment.
That is acted out, but not by the people who are doing it.
Exactly. They're just, they would be sitting in the audience.
Right. It's usually a movie.
All except two temples. It's a movie.
Right.
And then the actual sealing, the actual marriage ceremony takes place in an entirely separate room. They kneel across the altar. Everybody's fully clothed.
Right.
And there are not fig leaves being laid on your private areas. There's an apron that is green.
Yeah, it looks like a kitchen apron, really.
And sometimes the ones that are a little bit more, personalized, because you can make your own of any of this stuff that they're using. Some of the old women will embroider fig leaves into it.
Right.
But they'll make it look like it's made up of a pile of fig leaves.
Right.
But it's not like actual fig leaves that are being laid onto the person's.
Yeah. You can go on to YouTube and see the whole ceremony. Yeah. Not a wedding, but you can see the whole like temple ceremony happen. So you don't I mean, creepy shit happens, but it's not there's no need to blow it out of proportion because it's weird enough as it is.
Yeah. But you don't have to have this weird image in your head, because when I heard what you just described, I had an image. It's probably what you're thinking. And that doesn't happen.
Yeah, this is we're not in like some eyes wide shut kind of weird ass naked sex thing scenario. Anyway,
no. Yeah,
Aiden wrote in. Do you remember Aiden? Aiden was he's written in before. Anyway, he said he was talking to one of his Mormon friends, who. He says, I have played very violent games with in the past. I assume that means video games. I hope that means video games. He was over at my house and was trying to find a fun film to watch. Based on my previous experience with my friend, I suggested Friday the 13th Part 3 and asked if his parents would be okay with it. And when he said, my parents are fine with violence, but I can't see nudity.
Wow.
He said, my parents are fine with violence, but I can't see nudity. And I found that really weird, how we as a culture are somewhat offended about seeing our fellow human beings pretend to be shot, mangled, butchered, mutilated, and killed. And we let kids see the films with parent permission, but we get all riled up about seeing sex on the big screen. It seems like our priorities aren't exactly straight.
And I would agree with that.
I agree 100%. Like, I went to the movie Watchmen. Do you remember the movie Watchmen that came out a little while ago?
I didn't go see it, but I remember that it happened.
I enjoyed it. But the one thing that I remember from going to see it was that there was a family there sitting just one row ahead of us and off to the side.
There were dinglings in the movie, right?
There were dinglings, and there was one somewhat steamy sex scene.
Was there really?
Sort of, yeah, yeah. And of course, but there was also horrific violence, like axe in the head, horrific violence.
Yeah.
And it was the sex scene that the mom covered her kid's eyes.
Right.
And I just thought, you know what? That is perverted, because at very least the sex scene was loving.
Yeah.
The sex scene was an expression of two people really, and it was actually quite beautiful. There was this, it was a beautiful, loving scene. It wasn't illicit. It was two people who clearly were falling in love, having sex.
Right.
And I just thought, well, okay, you're an asshole. Like, parents, seriously.
Yeah.
Sex is good. Be sex positive with your kids. You don't have to let them watch sex.
Right.
But be at least, like, your priorities should be violence is bad and sex is, it can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, definitely things you protect your kids from, violence should be, like, way high up on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
And images of sex, yeah, clearly not.
so good job,
That's
Aiden.
important. All right, cool.
That kid's got his priorities together. Hello, Frank and Dan. I just finished. This is Mike writing in. I just finished episode 126 and was amazed. I thought I was the only one who had recurring nightmares about the Assemblies of God.
Oh, my God.
I went to one until around 13 or 14 years old, so that didn't really scar me too much. What did scar me was going to school at my church. I went there from 2nd grade to 8th grade. So literally 6 days a week I was at my church.
Wow.
It's cute that he abbreviates his the church where he went was First Assembly of God. He abbreviates that as FAG. I think that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he had dreams starting in his early 20s, and it's a ghosty dream where people come out of the walls and it's really spooky and stuff. But he just thought, he said, "I'm glad I'm not alone in this, but what the fuck? Is there something that is this something that's common amongst us former AOGers?"
Apparently,
we may have hit upon something.
Yeah,
if there are
it's
other
something-
people who are, because we got another thing. Did we get a voicemail about Assemblies? Anyway, let us know. Maybe we'll compile something. We should have a Scary Dreams by Assemblies of God website or something.
Ooh, tell your scary story.
Yeah. Holly wrote in to say that she was listening to the show where we talked about the flying spaghetti monster, ramen. She says, becoming official religion in Poland. And we wondered if there was an official book for the religion. She says there is. It's called The Gospel of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. She says she started reading it and thinks it's so far pretty hilarious.
Oh, cool. I still think it should be a cookbook, personally.
It should probably be a cookbook. Hi, guys, says Christine. I'm listening to your discussion of Ali. This is, what's her name?
This is the Brandeis University
of Ayaan Hirsi Ali.
Yeah,
the woman who
denied, not denied.
She was
reneged upon.
Right, she was offered. They asked her to come and speak at Brandeis University, and then cordially disinvited her.
Mm-hmm.
She says, and while I agree that modern Islam deserves scrutiny and criticism, I have to point out that Ali has explicitly advocated conversion of Muslims to Christianity. This strikes me as patronizing, disingenuous, and just plain dumb. Her position seems to be that Christianity embraces Enlightenment values and would be a feasible alternative for those poor credulous Muslims who aren't smart enough to embrace atheism. Yeah.
There's obvious problems there because I wouldn't say that Christianity does necessarily embrace Enlightenment values.
Right.
It's just the Western world, which is largely Christian historically,
right,
embraces Enlightenment values.
And more, you get your Anglican communion that's a lot more sort of.
Sure, I'm not saying that there aren't denominations of Christianity that have, that are beneficiaries of the Enlightenment.
She's
saying Christianity as a whole. But anyways.
I mean, I think the point is that there seems to be this thing of like, why are we talking about a person who is so controversial in her views or something? But I mean,
she is controversial.
All we were talking about was the fact that Brandeis. It's more about Brandeis than anything. About the fact that they caved into these pressures, as opposed to being a university where
They knew who she was when they offered to have her, or when they asked her to come speak and offered her an honorary degree.
yeah.
And if they did not know who she was and the things that she had said in the past, then that's real shit on a university,
Right. Yeah.
right?
A research university.
Yes,
That's meant to know what they're doing.
and so, but anyways, the point isn't that we are grand lovers of this woman.
No.
So, but thank you for bringing up that point
And who she is.
and who she is. She is a very controversial figure. I mean, bringing her up, I knew that people would potentially email us and point out some things about her. She's a radical conservative,
Yeah.
and a lot of what she has to say is, I don't find terribly tasteful, but nonetheless, I think she has the right to say it.
Yeah.
And, I'm no fan of Islam.
Yeah. No, me neither.
So, but I'm no fan of Christianity either.
Nope.
And I'm no fan of any of them.
Right.
So,
Why don't we get to some voicemails?
sure. In fact, there's one that kind of ties into this.
Dovetails a little bit.
Dovetails slightly. Let's see. Yes, here. I'll play this one first.
Hi, Dan and Frank. This is Alex in San Jose. I love the show, and I like the fact that your number starts at 666. So last episode, you had mentioned Sam Harris's book, The End of Faith, when you were talking about Islamophobia. So given that you two seem like such big fans of him, and I'm a big fan of y'all, and it's in my Kindle backlog, I figured I'd check it out and see why you're so obsessed with Mr. Harris. So I'm about 10% into it, and I wanted to know if you knew that he had said the following. I think this is on like page 27 or something like that. I'm not very far in. But he says, some propositions are so dangerous that it may even be ethical to kill people for believing them. To be fair, I'll provide some context. So before that, he was talking about the unavoidable link between belief and action. And then after the statement, he attempts to justify it with certain beliefs place their adherents beyond the reach of every peaceful means of persuasion while inspiring them to commit acts of extraordinary violence against others. And he uses their invasion of Afghanistan to go after the Taliban as an example of this principle correctly applied. But to me, it's axiomatic because this is just unethical and frankly hypocritical. So, I mean, who gets to determine what beliefs are worth killing over? And how is that any better than being in the Taliban and what the Taliban does? And this example doesn't hold any water because we only went to war after they attacked us to give us a reason. So I want to know what you guys think about that. Were you aware that he held this view? Do you agree with him? And should a guy who holds a view like this be one of the poster boys of the atheist community? Thanks.
Well, thanks for calling in. You bring up some interesting points. First of all, I don't think either Frank nor I have declared fanboyness
Or obsession.
with
Sam Harris.
with Mr. Harris. I've read a few of his books, and I find much of what he has to say fascinating.
And I've read the book that that Alex is currently reading.
Right.
And so, the points that Alex is bringing up, this is actually pretty standard, like criticism that's been pulled out of, what is it? The End of Faith? Is that the one?
Uh-huh. An end to faith.
An end to faith. Yeah. And so
The thing is,
that's kind of almost beside the point that I think we want to make, which
Right.
is that, Harris says some really great things, and he says some things that are controversial too. And you can decide what you want to think about those controversial things. But I will say this, as far as that one little bit that you're talking about right there, I would be very careful to, with your reading of it, and make sure that you're reading it in the context of what he's really talking about.
Right, because what he was saying was exactly what you were saying, which is that, these guys in Afghanistan were like bombing people and attacking people.
Yeah.
And once they start attacking people and you can't get to them through reasoning and through any kind of, there's no diplomatic elements.
Yeah.
Their belief puts them in the position of like, we need to stop them from killing people.
And to also be clear, Harris is not saying anybody who believes something scary or weird, like your next door neighbor who might That's not what he's advocating. Is just killing people for their beliefs.
Right. No. He's not.
But anyways,
But
I
you know what?
really don't want to get mired down into like what Sam Harris is even.
I mean,
saying.
Sam Harris is widely criticized for his view on Islam, and I encourage you guys all to read the books and decide what you think about Harris. We're not. The thing is, I encourage you to read Harris. I like reading Harris.
I enjoy reading.
I
Harris
don't
as
agree
well.
with him all the time,
Right.
and I think there's this danger in the world of people. I see a lot of people finding a hero, and then just accepting whatever it is that they put out there.
Right. Yeah.
I say, if Harris is a hero, which I think, I'm going to go ahead and say, I really like the way that he challenges himself. I like the way that he's going to say his truth and not care if it, knowing full well that it's going to be controversial. I like that about him.
Yeah.
So if I disagree with him, at least I can respect the fact that he has the integrity to say something even when he knows it's going to piss people off.
Yep. And, and this goes back to Ayaan, Hirsi Ali, which is, she is a crusader for something really, really, really important, which is the end of female genital mutilation.
Right.
At the hand of, the Muslims in
Yeah. If you're going to have
in the area of Somalia that she's from. So,
Pete Boghossian recently on his Facebook, on his Twitter, he posted a thing, a quote that I then reposted on my Facebook page because I don't really Twitter. But basically what he said, quote, "If defending one's beliefs becomes more important than revising them, one will necessarily become insincere and inauthentic." And I think that's the key here. The thing is, you shouldn't not read someone because they disagree with you.
right.
You can not read them if they're just, if you don't want to spend your time, like, it's fine if you don't want to read Glenn Beck's book because he's a lunatic and enough of, but
It could be a wild ride.
But don't not read it. And the other thing is, don't read it just dismissing everything he has to say.
Right.
Listen to what he has to say. Process what he has to say. Decide what, then decide that he's a lunatic.
I think it feels scary sometimes, though, for a lot of people, and because I've seen
For
it
everybody.
myself, of like, you're very comfortable in your worldview, right? And then you come across something where somebody who's so is crazy, like a Glenn Beck,
Yeah.
but you read this chapter that makes sense,
Yeah.
and you're just like, well, what the fuck is going on? And it feels weird, and it's like, well, what else is he right about?
Right. Exactly.
Am I completely crazy? Is the rest of what he says also right? That's not what you have. That's not the logical leap.
No.
It's that he happens to, have some idea about the role of government in our society that you happen to agree with.
Well, and I'll tell you what also happens for me is that I listen to someone's argument and it sounds really good and it sounds really strong and it's challenging something that I believe.
Right.
So then I go out and I look for counter arguments to that argument.
Right.
Because a lot of times a cleverly framed argument can be pretty compelling without actually being true.
Right.
So then you keep looking and literally, but every single time you should be open to revising your own beliefs.
Right.
If the better argument has won, until you hear, and then revise that later if something else comes up. Anyway, let's hear somebody else.
All right. Our next voicemail comes from Sparkle Darkle.
Okay.
It comes from Sparkle Darkle.
Hey, Frank and Dan and Frank, it's Hargle Margle Pony over here. Just listening to you guys talking about the patriarchal invocation thing, that paperwork that you get. You stopped on, God, it's painful. You stopped on you're a good person, and you started to laugh, and all I could think of was, this sounds like it should have come out of a Chinese fortune cookie, and I'm waiting for you to finish it off with, and your special numbers are. I just thought that one was funny, and no, I don't think that you guys have been picking on me at all. Don't worry about it. As a matter of fact, you may end up getting a phone call, or may have already gotten a phone call from somebody that met me, thanks to you. Talk to you about that, guys, later. Ciao.
Thanks, Sparkle Darkle.
Well,
or Harble Garble?
Argle Bargle Pony.
Did
What
he
if
say
it's
Argle Bargle
no,
Pony?
that's not what he said, but that's funny anyway. Wow, people meeting out in the world.
It's crazy town.
Anyway, that's what it is. You get your Mormon fortune cookie, and you get your patriarch.
I wish it had lucky numbers for me.
Right?
That would have been more useful than, anything that wasn't
It
there.
would be so funny if the old guy's he's finishing up his prayer over your head, and he's saying all the things, and then he just, without saying anything, just says 11, 16, 5, 22, 3.
Powerball 18.
In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Okay, well, and then what would be really amazing if somebody won on those numbers?
It would be.
It would prove Mormonism is true.
Yes, it would.
We have some other callers.
Yes, we have one more from Greg.
Hey guys, I'm Greg Jones. I just want to say I think you two are absolutely flippin' fantastic. I enjoy listening to your podcast every week. I'm doing some back episodes right now, and from the first episode to where you guys are at now, you have evolved as such a dynamic duo that I'm hard-pressed to find any others like you in the universe. I really just wanted to talk to you about agnosticism and how you both became atheists and the general issue people have with God versus religion. I am an agnostic personally. I more don't like the idea of religion. God I don't have a problem with. It's so much the fact that religion makes people do the kooky shit that they do, and it makes them subscribe to the false beliefs of said God. But what if God didn't really have anything to do with anything that makes people, act the way they are, and man just created religion for the sheep to follow? I don't know if you guys have any input on that, but I appreciate all you guys are doing. I hope you have a great rest of the time doing the podcast.
Well, thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
I wouldn't have any problem, I guess, with people just having some kind of innocent belief in God, but it just seems like it's such a.
Here's the thing, my problem with the belief in God is why bother?
Well, right.
There's no evidence for it.
Because if what you just spelled out is the case, right, that there's this God, and then everybody created religion to try to understand God, but this God has never intervened, whatever. How can you have a belief in something like that?
Right. And what's the point of it?
Exactly. What is the point? How,
I can come
the belief has no end. It has no, what is it based on?
Right.
How do you know what form that God takes? How do you know, if that warm feeling that you had was God or just your chemical
psyche
balance in your body at the moment being, oh, you're feeling good.
Right.
There you go.
And the other thing is,
here's some serotonin.
I can propose to you any number of nice ideas.
Yeah.
A million nice ideas that either that encapsulate creation or that encapsulate just anything, and until there's a reason to believe in it, why bother?
Right.
Why bother believing in something until you have a reason to believe in it?
Well, and this that whole thing, and we haven't talked about it in a long time, but it's the whole idea of what is agnosticism, right? And you really started the whole podcast with trying to define your views on atheism versus agnosticism. I'm talking about episode 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there.
Right.
And, ultimately, I don't claim to know, as an atheist, I don't claim to know that there's no God.
Correct.
That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
So in a sense, if that's being agnostic.
Indeed. I maintain.
But there is no God in my life, and I have no evidence to believe in a God, so I'm atheist.
Right. Exactly.
at the same time.
I maintain that every honest human being on the planet, with the possible exception of like a Joseph Smith or anyone who claims to have personally met God or Jesus, maybe a Glenn Beck.
Sure.
But with the exception of anyone who's actually claimed to have met God or Jesus, there is no person on the planet who isn't, if they're honest, an agnostic.
Right.
Because all agnosticism asks is, can we know if there's a God or not?
Right.
And I think that we all, if we're honest, have to say, no, we can't know.
We can't know.
We can have degrees of certainty or degrees of like I can't know that, there's not a 5,000-ton monster living under the sea, but I have, good evidence to sort of point me in the direction of an answer. So while I will remain agnostic as to whether or not that creature exists, I will opt not to believe in it until I have reason to believe in it.
Right. Exactly.
And that's where we stand. So atheism is just you don't have the belief in a God. It's not affirming for sure that there's no God.
No. There are those atheists, though, who go about, and that's given atheists as a whole a little bit of a bad name.
Right. There are people who are absolutely positively positive that there's no God.
But it's preposterous.
Right. You can't prove a negative.
But for me, what's important in my life as an atheist is that God, or any idea of God or gods, is completely irrelevant to my life.
Yeah.
There's no evidence for it.
Right.
And there's nothing that has ever happened in my life, anything supernatural, right, that could convince me that there's some kind of force that's guiding my life.
Right.
Right. Because yeah.
Well, So
atheist.
So, go ahead and believe in a God if you want. I just don't see the point. And I don't see any...
Especially the kind of God that you just described.
Right, right. A non-intervening God. What the hell does it matter then?
What's the point?
What's the point of that belief? Believe in what you can, what you have evidence for.
Yeah, especially if you're already agnostic.
Yeah, just join the universe. Already in progress. We now return you to the...
Last we saw the universe.
We now return you to reality, already in progress.
Captain Janeway and her crew.
Oh, no. Anyway, but thanks for all of your missives, those of you who wrote and called. We now will...
We're throwing it to the convention.
Yeah, we will now cede our time to Frank and Dan
at the convention.
At the Atheist Convention. Well, thanks, Frank and Dan.
Oh, wow, magic of the internet, I guess.
I know. It's amazing. So, guess who we're here with, Frank?
I don't know, Dan. Who?
Yes, you do. You know exactly who.
We're here with Seth Andrews.
We are. Hi, Seth.
It's so good to be sitting down in front of the mic with you guys. How's it going?
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you bet.
This is amazing because we were trying to get you on a show before, and it would have been over the phone, and it wouldn't have been as fun, but now we're right face to face.
These conventions are freaking amazing. We're recording this, obviously, at the American Atheist National Convention.
Yes, we are.
And as we walk down any hallway, you look up and you potentially see someone who changed your life.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, look, hey, there's Dillahunty. I love Matt's. Matt's a buddy, but he's an example.
Sure.
Mr. Deity. I'm not saying change my life, but their work. You're familiar. You have an affinity. And you look for the opportunity to one day meet them and say, "Hey, man, I love your stuff."
Right.
So I'm hanging out in the lobby. It's Brian Dalton, Mr. Deity. I love your stuff, man. Jacqueline Glenn shows up. Hey, Jacqueline, love your stuff. Want to have you on the show sometime. A lot of this type of stuff going on, and everybody's smiling ear to ear. Now, I don't know what the religious thing happens at a convention, but what really does happen, they probably think we all sit here and we're dour, sad, pathetic, lifeless people.
Angry.
Mostly it's laughter and smiles and, a lot of hugs, and it's a party, man. It's just it's a pleasure to be here. So.
And it's nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
See, you're one of those guys for so many people. You know that.
You got to set that bar a little higher, gentlemen. You know
come on now. Come on now.
Well, it's funny being the host of a popular radio show and having the videos seen by a lot of people out there, and I see my role kind of as an encourager to other people. And I used to apologize more for not being Victor Stenger or Steven Pinker or Richard Dawkins, right? Because I'm not. Geez, I'm the idiot who took 30 years to figure out that donkeys couldn't talk, right? But, people I think admire Steven Pinker and Richard Dawkins. They relate to me.
Right.
I'm the dude that you have a beer with. I'm the dude who's crawling his way through a life trying to find out what the answers are. Who's dealing with highly religious family and culture, I'm just navigating my life like anybody else, and it's a journey that people can kind of take with me, and we relate to each other.
Right.
And I've stopped apologizing for that, or at least I don't do it nearly as much as I used to.
Sure.
And it's exciting to meet people who find benefit in the work and in the shows.
Absolutely. So. Well, I mean, we're just a couple jackasses ourselves, so I mean, I totally
Hermano. Yeah, I
totally
feel you
get
guys.
where you're coming from on that point. Now, you used to be a Christian podcaster.
I was on FM radio.
Broadcaster is what I meant.
Yeah. The podcast didn't exist when I was on the radio. But yeah, I started in 1990 at KXOJ Radio, which was contemporary Christian, and I sort of rode the wave of popularity. Christian music used to be. Hey, look, Christian music has always been, or was always, a pale imitation of what pop radio was doing. In fact,
exactly.
I have a speech I'm doing this weekend and around the country called "The Copycats," which shows how religion finds what's cool out there on the radio or in pop culture, and it goes, hey, let's do a Jesus version of this.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
And so, Christian music was trying desperately to be legitimate. And we had the Imperials and Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith and I was all in. I listened to that stuff almost exclusively. And in the 90s, it became the fastest growing radio format in the country by far. And all the bigwig record companies thought, hey, this is a great business opportunity. And so these boutique record labels like Myrrh and Word and Sparrow Music got bought up by Columbia and Epic Records. And because, they know a business opportunity. All of a sudden the artists get more polished and prettier and everything sounds a little better.
Wait a minute. It sounds like you're almost cynical about this whole thing.
I am. Dude, Jesus is profitable, right? The Jesus business is profitable. It is.
Well, yeah, you got 5 major Hollywood films coming out this year that have Jesus-y themes.
Tell me the producers of these films have a real conviction about having souls saved for Jesus Christ. Or are they thinking that they live in a population, in a country where 70% plus of its citizens profess some measure of Christianity.
Right.
Hey, what an amazing built-in audience we have.
Right.
And, of course, that film to date has grossed, $50-some million? It's insane.
Who could blame them for capitalizing on that? I don't blame them for it.
Look, we are sheep. Mel Gibson releases The Passion of the Christ years ago. This is before he went off the reservation, and wow, this is before his cheese really slid off its cracker. But back when The Passion came out, the church was like, whoa, awesome. And I'm thinking, Mel Gibson's laughing all the way to the bank.
Right.
$600 million in grosses, the most profitable rated R film in history. Yeah, duh. Yeah, his main concern was saving souls.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, look, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. You know what I'm saying?
You and Frank have something in common. You're out of Oklahoma, aren't you?
Mm-hmm, yeah, born in Tulsa.
Frank?
Tulsa. My parents live in Fort Gibson, outside of Muskogee.
Yeah, we're not too far from each other.
Yeah.
I'm 20 minutes from Oral Roberts University.
Yeah.
20 minutes from
Those
Rhema
praying
Bible
hands,
Train.
don't they just make you feel good in your heart? Those giant praying hands.
I feel the same way about those praying hands. By the way, for those who are wondering what we're talking about, there are giant praying hand sculpture in front of Oral Roberts University. And they're obscene. I mean, look at them. And I feel the same way
They're
about
holding
them
the dollars, right?
as I feel about those giant 200-foot crosses that people construct on highways, right? I mean, somewhere somebody thought this is a great evangelism tool. But even when I was a believer, I'd drive by this stuff and go, why are we not using that money to feed hungry children?
Right, exactly.
Why? Oh, what this county needs is not to feed the poor or to clothe those who need clothing or to help the sick. Let's put up a 199-foot illuminated cross off of I-10 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's brilliant.
Right, a place where 80% or 90% of the people are already Christian anyway. That's what you need is that big, Jesus' murder weapon. just displayed as prominently as you possibly can.
Yeah, and it's inescapable. You can't. It's what an eyesore. I mean, come on. I feel the same way about almost every aspect of the Catholic Church. Every time the Catholic Church and people are talking about Pope Francis and how awesome he is. He's so different. He's such a different Pope. And I'm like, look, fine. He said a few things that I'll give him props. Sure. I'm glad he said them. Great. You're also head of a $170 billion business with a history of financial corruption and cover-up. Yeah. And sexual crimes and all this. I can't excuse all that. And every time Pope Francis talks about the poor, I'm like, this dude lives like freaking Mick Jagger on crack.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there because he lives like Keith Richards. Mick Jagger was the popes before him. He lives in the offshoot. He didn't take up the papal residence. Yeah. He's in the guest house.
Yeah. His whole life is gilded in gold, and he's telling us about the poor. Yeah. I just don't get it.
Well, that's how it is. Yeah. Well, we wish you all the best in your crusades. You're out. You're in the middle of there's a touring thing that's happening with you.
Well, I do a lot of speaking in public because, number one,
because if you speak at home, then nobody hears you.
Desperate to get out of my studio in the house. I'm in one guy in a room with a microphone, and I want to connect with people eye to eye, face to face, voice to voice. And so what I'll do is many times I'll take tours out, presentations like I'm doing this weekend at the American Atheist Convention, and go out and give like a formal presentation with lots of eye candy, and then we just hang.
Right.
And these things have become hugely successful. I did 30-some dates last year. I've done 20-something already this year, or I'm doing this spring anyway. We're not done yet. And then part of that tour is just me, and I'll go out, and we just did San Diego and Riverside, and I did 4 cities in Arizona. North Carolina's coming up. It's crazy. But there are 3 cities where my buddies Aaron Raw and Matt Dillahunty and I are doing like a trifecta of
heathen
goodness. Yes. We're calling it sort of the tongue-in-cheek title is the Unholy Trinity.
Right.
And each one of us goes and does a short presentation, and then we finish the day with another hour on stage just hanging out and interacting with people. God, we did Amarillo a few weeks back. It was a ball.
Yeah. Wow.
It was so much fun. And honestly, I was last on the speaking roster. You have any idea what it's like to go up after Aaron Raw and Matt Dillahunty? No, thank you. Let's draw straws again, guys, please. But we're up again May 3rd in Albuquerque and then June 28th in San Antonio, Texas. And all the event details are at the events column. You can just go to thethinkingatheist.com. And I will hopefully have those speeches up and video from the presentations up on YouTube by the summer. We're trying to document them for those who can't make it. And mostly, again, they're just a way to encourage people. Dude, it's all right. You don't have to be emotionally blackmailed by family and culture to live somebody else's way. You don't have to hold on to the beliefs of superstitious primitives. You don't have to have people tell you that you're broken and all these other things just because they don't understand where the burden of proof lies.
Right.
Yeah. And, I just want to encourage people, even people listening to this show. You may have a mother and father who are like mine, who are punishing themselves because they failed as a parent, because you aren't a true believer. You fell out of the faith, blah, blah, blah. Or they may be treating you with condescension, like you're all screwed up. And even if it's not spoken about when you go to Thanksgiving dinner, you can feel it in the room.
Right.
You may have lost friends, Facebook friends, or real friends, who knows. The truth is you have every right to live your own freaking life.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone should be ostracized or vilified for seeking truth. We just want to live truthfully. None of us walked up one day and said, I'm going to prove atheism.
Right.
Right? We looked at the facts and we said, I no longer believe in a deity because there's no evidence to support it, and because I want to live a moral, truthful life. I'm not going to profess a belief, and I'm not going to hold to a belief. I'm going to be honest about it. And I think if a God did exist, he would never condemn that kind of living anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Obviously we agree.
All right. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. Look, it's just something that's just really been on, if I can use a spiritual term, it's been on my heart and in my spirit lately.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to sort of encourage everybody. Man, and this is an exciting time to be alive.
It sure is.
With the era of the Hubble telescope, the unlocking of the human genome, of seeing science begin to really give us religion gave us nothing new for thousands of years. Science gives us something new about every 5 minutes.
Right.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
There's that I don't know who said it, but the theory that the God of the gaps is getting small, like he's got fewer and fewer gaps to live in. You go out and find your gaps there, God, because we're going to take away as many as we can.
You know what? You hold on to the writings of people who thought all the species of the world's animals lived within walking distance of Noah's house. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, have fun
We're
with
going to
that.
go over here with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and we're going to celebrate what science discovers every freaking day, and it's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. All right, Seth Andrews, thank you so much for coming on our show, and we look forward to seeing you at other conventions and around the universe.
All right. Well, all success with the show, guys, and thanks
Thank
again
you.
for allowing me to be a part of it.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Wasn't that a nice interview? Well, in our incredible ability of putting together, a decent, podcast every week, we forgot to record an outro. So I'm just doing this on my own in my basement. And so if you'd like to comment on anything that you've heard on the podcast today, please feel free to send us a voicemail at you can call us at 424-666-8442 and just leave us a message. Or you could also email us. Our email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. Thanks to all of you for listening, and thank you to Mackenzie for all the work that you do on Facebook, and thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music. Until next week, thanks so much, everyone, and have a good one. Bye-bye.